everybody. Welcome to Journey with the Jays here on Real 1100 AM. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Doing well. How are you doing, boys?
Looking good. What's going on?
Can't complain. Tuesday night football. You got to love it.
Yeah, so we want to start off with the MLB playoffs. And, well, I guess we'll start off with the Rays, and then we'll get into the Braves and the Braves dominating their series so far. So the Rays are up 2-0. This is Tuesday. So when Thursday comes around, obviously the series will change. But so far I've been right about the Rays, JB. So I'm curious how that crow tastes whenever it comes to the Rays. Because you told me earlier in the season that they're nothing.
Well,
and
let's
the
go back.
Braves, the Yankees got this. So now let's just
go back
throw
a
it
series
right out there.
and let's talk about how lucky they were that it was mismanaged, in the divisional series that they got to move on. So I'm not really going to say that the Rays are the better team at this point. I think we, as Yankees, mismanaged that particular round. I'm very unhappy with Aaron Boone. I don't think he did a good job at all with the rotation, with the bullpen. So, I'm going to say that the Rays got lucky. Good for them. They're a good team, but I don't think they're the better team. But they're handling the Astros right now 2-0, but the Astros could turn it around in a second. They're a very good team.
Well,
Jake?
I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to throw in a follow-up question with that because you just brought it to my attention. Is Boone still the guy in New York? Like, does he stay? What do you guys think? You're all Yankee fans, so I guess I'll start with you, Spenser. What do you think about Boone? Is he staying? Does he got to go?
Yeah, no, it's got to be a little bit on Boone, right? I mean, to not get to a World Series during his tenure and just coming up short every single year. I don't care who the manager is, you're going to take some of the blame, but can I really blame Boone for the Yankees bats going cold when it matters most almost every single postseason? I don't think I can. I'm not sure what it is, but every time that the moment gets really big, everyone on the Yankees seems to forget how to hit. And I don't think that's on Boone. So for me, you can go a different direction to shake things up, but I don't necessarily think that getting a new manager is the answer to solve the Yankees' postseason problems.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what Spenser said. I really agree with what Spenser said. I understand that a lot of fans are not happy because, John, as you said, we haven't reached a World Series yet. But what a lot of people seem to be, I guess, neglecting at the moment is he's won 100-plus games in every season that he's at, a full season, of course, because a season you can't say that because no full season. It's not. We're not sure what would happen. So he very well may have won another 100-game season, which would have been, I believe, his third or his fourth straight, which I think has never. I don't think it's ever happened before. It was unprecedented. He was really wonderful in the regular season, and Spenser just hit the nail on the head. I don't feel like you can really put it on the manager for the bats not performing. I'm not saying that Boone has been perfect, because that's not fair to say. He has not been perfect. But when you look at what the Yankees did, scored one run in that last game. That's just, for a team that hits as well as they do, they're known as the Bronx Bombers, to do that, to put up a one, it doesn't matter who's the manager, because that's not okay. You cannot do that, especially against a good Rays team. And so the problem is you bring in a new manager, but does that really solve the Yankees bats issues? Which my fear is I don't think it does. It doesn't. You may get better decisions, putting your closer in at a certain time or things like that. But I don't feel like you're going to see, our bats are just going to wake up all of a sudden. That's not something that you necessarily can put on Boone. That goes on the players themselves.
So I have a question for everybody here. Is it possibly, we should start thinking about, is Chapman the guy? I mean, he basically gave up the game-winning home run last year in Houston. And he had trouble when he was with Chicago, where he blew, a closeout game. So is maybe Chapman also a problem with this?
Yeah, it's painful for me to say, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's not, because he's definitely part of the problem. I mean, you look at what happened. That at bat, there were other issues that I could get into when I could have a whole rant about, but I won't. But there were some calls. I will just leave it at this. There were some calls that were called balls that should have been strikes and vice versa. And I'm not going to rant about that because I can, but I won't. However, it is on the closer's job to do exactly that, to close the game, to close out the inning, to close out whatever situation really he's in. And Chapman couldn't do that. And that, for me, is kind of the issue. He got rattled, it seemed, after that, I guess, what I believe was the third pitch that should have been probably called a strike, and he was, I guess, upset maybe. But to throw however many pitches after that he did, and eventually just throw a strike right down the middle that basically says, "Come and hit me out of the park." You can't do that, and he's done that 2 seasons in a row, which is really starting to be a really big concern, because you mentioned, you look back at what he did in Chicago, and that wasn't great either. He's kind of had these struggles, and when you think of a closer, I hate to say Mariano Rivera, because obviously that's a really high pedigree to be looking at, a really high bar, but he is a great example of a guy that went out there, and when it was his job, it was time to go, he got it done. He didn't screw up. And Chapman is now screwed up in 2 straight seasons in arguably the most important pitches of his career, or at least his season for sure. And there are other pitchers on this Yankee staff that could be the closer. Zach Britton used to be a closer, and I see no reason that the Yankees say goodbye to Chapman and let Britton take over that closing role again, because I would say Yankees are probably the only team he's not a closer on. Almost every other team in the league would gladly say, yeah, we'll take him as a closer. Absolutely. Crazy not to. So for me, as much as I like Chapman, what he really is, he's a hard thrower. That's what he comes down to. And he's not doing his job anymore. And if that's going to be the case, you just can't have him, especially you can't have him in that important of a role.
Spenser, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Look, I also think that let's give the Rays their credit. They're a great baseball team. They were the best team in the American League most of the season. They're showing that against Houston right now. They're up 2-0. I mean, they've got some guys that can just flat out play. Austin Meadows was fantastic. He hit the go-ahead run against us, right? It was Meadows?
I believe so. I'd have to look back. I'd have to check. I'm not quite sure.
Regardless, the Rays have a ton of great bats. They have the pitching. That guy Margot had a fantastic day yesterday against, or 2 days ago against the Astros. He had a great diving catch, and then he came back and hit a home run, I believe. The Rays are a very good team right now, and if I'm the Dodgers or the Braves, I'm going to be scared to face them, because they seem to be the hottest team in the league. And let's not pretend like they crushed the Yankees. It went 5 games. It was extremely close. I don't think the Yankees played a bad series per se. I just think that the Rays were the better team, and they have been all season.
Just to update, it was Brosseau. I don't know how to say his name for the Rays. Brosseau.
Oh, Brosseau, you're right. It was his revenge against Chapman. I'm sorry.
Yes. So Brosseau was the guy that ended up with the home run. My problem with, not to go too long on the Yankees because they're obviously out, but my problem was how Boone managed that. He tried to extend it to just basically Britton, and then Chapman, and that's it. I don't like whenever you try and extend relievers that far. You put Chapman in at the end of an inning, then you expect him to go the whole entire 8th inning. Then the 9th inning, I'm not sure if they were going to have him go there too. We'll never know. But I just don't like when you put a closer at the end of the 7th inning for the last out, and then you bring him in the 8th inning. Closers, obviously, they need to be able to do their job more than their job if they're asked to do something else. But I just don't like that out of a closer, stretching him more than what he's supposed to do. I never was a fan of that. Buck Showalter used to do that with the Orioles, and it always came back to bite us. And I think that you should leave them in their respective spots. I get it's a playoffs and everybody's got to step up, but I didn't like that from Boone one bit, just from a baseball perspective. You have other people in the bullpen that can pitch as well, and it's not fair to just ask Chapman to extend into 2 innings. You don't do that with closers.
Yeah, I thought that was Yeah, Jake.
I was just going to say, look, I don't disagree because you make a fair point. Yes, you don't put a closer in that situation normally. But my thing is this, it's the playoffs, and the playoffs are so weird. And I'm not saying it makes what his decision was, makes his decision right. But you look what the Rays did. I believe they brought their closer in the 8th inning. So while I understand exactly what you're saying, John, I'm not disagreeing. You had basically the same situation on both teams where you bring them in before the 9th, right? Before you're normally supposed to bring them in. I put that in quotes, of course, because baseball, again, the playoffs can be so strange. And I'm not saying it makes it right, but just to say that it was a poor decision to bring him in then, I'm not going to sit here and say it was, because I think for me, that's more on Chapman than it is on Boone. It's Boone trusts his guy and says, okay, dude, I need you to get these outs. This is what we need. I need you to be elite. I need you to be on your stuff like we know you can be. And the problem was he just wasn't. And that's not a decision you can really put on Boone in the end, if you ask me. I get where everybody's coming from. But again, it's really on Chapman in the end. That's the real bottom line.
Right. You make some good points about that. I want to talk about the Braves and Dodgers now. Nothing is going on with the Dodgers bats, which is crazy because of all of the batters that they have with Mookie Betts and all them guys. And JB had pointed out last week that the Braves pitching could be the problem for them. So far, they've given up. We're in the 6th inning, and they've given up 1 run in the series, and that was in Game 1 where they won 5-1. They're currently up 6-0 in the bottom of the 6th. So JB, what do you think so far about the Braves pitching? Series isn't over, but so far.
Yeah, right now the front of the Braves rotation is taking care of business, but we're going to see tomorrow, what happens in Game 3. And this game's still a little ways from over. The Dodgers have bats that can make a 6-run game seem not like nothing in a couple of batters. So, I wouldn't be too worried too quickly if you were a Dodger fan, but the Braves are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. So I'm not too concerned. But well, the Dodgers, Kershaw was scratched today, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yep.
With a back ailment.
Spasms.
Yeah, so I mean that also changes it too, because now you're rushing to get guys into the game, and it throws off your whole rotation and your bullpen. So that plays a big part in it. It's not really a good excuse, but it definitely makes it a lot more difficult, and especially when you fall behind 6-0.
Yeah, not to mention that Freddie Freeman is just crushing the heck out of the ball right now. Hit a home run in the first game. He hit one in the 4th inning in this one. He tacked on a single that drove in a runner in the 5th inning. He has been a monster for the Braves, and the Dodgers just haven't had that in this series yet. No one on the Dodgers has showed up like Freddie Freeman has, and I think he is the major difference right now. But after 1.5 games so far.
I hate to bring up the Yankees again, and I hate to sound like a homer because I'm a Yankees fan, but it really is reminiscent. For me, you're seeing the Dodgers who are like the Yankees, right? The bats are just shutting down. They're cold. And the other team, in this case being the Braves, are just taking advantage of that. They're doing what they do. They're keeping their bats hot. And, it's something I always talk about in all sports. It's really momentum is the single biggest factor for me about winning a championship. You can take a team like the Dodgers, who on paper, 100 times out of 100 should probably win this series, no doubt. But when you take a team like the Braves with the way they're playing against the way the Dodgers are playing now, right, it completely flips the script, because now you're saying, okay, yeah, the Dodgers are better on paper, but this other team is so hot. They're playing so well as a team that it really completely changes the script. And so for me, am I surprised? Yes. But am I going to be surprised at this rate if Atlanta wins this series? No. Because again, I talked about in the NBA recently, talk about it all the time. Hot teams win championships. And right now, with the way the Braves are playing, I don't see any reason that they can't win just because of the pure, like I said, just being so legit, like literally just on fire. I mean, it is amazing how well they've played, and they've really exceeded expectations. So, I mean, kudos to the Braves, and I'm excited to see how the series finishes off.
So currently, the Dodgers they had 4 hits in game 1, and they have 2 hits tonight. So they have 6 hits in the series so far at the bottom of the 6th inning. 6 hits in the series, 1 run to speak of. The Braves have 11 runs so far. Like I said, bottom of the 6th currently. So the Braves really look like the better team. Can the Braves finish this off, or do the Dodgers have it in them? Because you win game 1 against Walker Buehler, that's big because, you get by their ace, Clayton Kershaw. You get a break. Obviously, you need a little bit of luck whenever it comes to any sport. You avoid Kershaw, who, he's had his troubles in the playoffs. So maybe that's not that big of a break. But, you're up 2-0, and who knows? I mean, would it be a bad thing if we saw Rays Braves World Series? I wouldn't be opposed to it because I would be happy. I said at the beginning of Journey with the Jays that it's going to be a wacky year, and we're going to see teams that you don't expect to make the World Series make it.
You want to talk about wacky? Are we not going to bring up Walker Buehler's pants from game 1?
My favorite was he was asked about why, about the tightness of his pants. He got mad about that.
No, they said, Walker Buehler's pants were trending on Twitter, and he goes, yeah, now's not the time or the place, Michael. He called the reporter by name. I thought that was epic. Look, you can't wear pants like that and not attract attention. I'm sorry, Walker Buehler. That's not how it works. But if the Braves play the Rays in the World Series, and right now that's how it's looking, who do you guys think would be the favorite to win that series?
You know what? I'm changing my ideas. I was against the Braves originally, and you know what?
Coming around.
I really feel like I am. I did this with the NBA playoffs, a couple weeks ago. I talked about the Heat, and I can't go against what I really believe, which is hot teams win championships. I said it before, and I'll continue to say it. The way the Braves are playing at the moment, I just can't say I can't bet against them. I mean, I'm not saying the Rays aren't playing well, but they're not playing hot. They're just playing consistently well, and there's a difference. The Rays bats are not out here exploding every night. They're just consistently playing well like they have been. Their pitching is consistently playing well like they have been, but the Braves are just playing above where they should be. And to me, that's what, that's when you talk about being hot. When you're playing well is above what you're supposed to be. I have to choose the Braves, and it seems like they cannot be stopped, and they're taking down the big bad Dodgers. I'm all in with the Braves now.
JB, who do you got in that hypothetical World Series?
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh, well, John, what do you think? We'll get back to JB.
Look, I got a theory for why these Braves are doing so well. Dan Quinn is going from the Falcons. A little bit of that what's bringing down the city of Atlanta is finally gone. Dimitrov is gone. Maybe that there can be some success now in the great city of Atlanta. Maybe now we can start to have championships here in Atlanta. So maybe that's my theory. These Braves, there was no more Quinn Dimitrov going into game 1, from right over, with the Falcons. And now that gave the Braves more energy and hope. They're potentially going to go up 2-0. So that city of Atlanta has been lifted by Falcons potentially being able to have some opportunities to succeed going forward, because, Falcons were just being held back, and that city needs a boost after that unfortunate Super Bowl.
If you're not watching this live, you're missing my facial expressions. If you're not watching on YouTube or Facebook, because I don't know what the Falcons have to do with
look, that city
Braves.
Needs a boost. The city needs a boost. The Falcons are bringing
the Braves are a boost every year. They're always
good.
And Freddie Freeman this year is carrying this team on his back.
They haven't gotten over the top. And now that Quinn and Dimitrov are gone and they're not bringing the city down, the Atlanta teams can succeed now.
I want to call Freddie Freeman at the end of the season and find that out. I want to have lunch with him and ask him how Dan Quinn ruined his season before that.
There's hope.
Wow.
Now there's hope. There's positivity, and you can start to succeed. That dark cloud's been lifted off the city.
I'm gonna do a Jake here. So I'm gonna go back to the Yankees for a second. So we're not doing good because we have the 31st and 32nd in the power rankings football team. That's when the Yankees lost to the Rays. It doesn't make any sense, John.
It's the magic of sports. It's just the way it goes, you know. Just gotta trust me. The Braves are better now. It lifts the city.
It's an excellent transition, John, to get into the Atlanta Falcons firing Dan Quinn after 5 seasons, letting go of Thomas Dimitroff, the general manager. It's about darn time. I think everybody on this podcast said this was basically like waiting to happen. I think we all said if they lost this game on Sunday, it was going to happen. They lose to the Panthers. Quinn's fired immediately. When asked about why he was fired, Arthur Blank goes, yeah, it's because of lack of winning, which I thought was an awesome quote. Absolutely lack of winning. You can't – the last 2 seasons before this season, I think they were 7-9. You start the season 0-5. And now the Falcons, guys, they have some serious questions. Do they want to continue with Matt Ryan at quarterback for the future? Question number 1. Who do they want to replace Dan Quinn? Right now, Raheem Morris is the interim coach. I think he coached the Buccaneers a few years ago. Doesn't have a great history as being a head coach. But who do you want to replace this team? And is going to be a lot of questions to be asked. But I guess let's start with that Matt Ryan question. Do you guys think that they can win a Super Bowl with Matt Ryan in these next 4 to 5 years? Or do you think that they need to move on, trade Matt Ryan to another team, and draft someone like Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson?
For me, I don't think they're going to win anytime soon, and it's not his fault, but I don't think they're winning anytime soon. So inevitably, that means they will not win with Matt Ryan. It's not his fault, though, because I think I've said this last show, the offense really is not the biggest problem for them. I'm not saying it's not the problem, but it was obviously the defense was the big issue.
I have breaking news. I'm not cutting you off, but Le'Veon Bell is going to be cut by the Jets. I just got the update from Brian Costello. The Jets are releasing Le'Veon Bell. Breaking news.
Oh, boy.
The Jets doing Jets things.
They couldn't get anything for him is what my assumption is. So they're just cutting ties because they were supposed to give him a bonus. I believe it was $2 million on Thursday, which show air Thursday. So I'm guessing they just wanted to save that money, and that's why he's being cut since they couldn't find anything for him.
Wow.
The Jets can afford $2 million. Le'Veon Bell is a good football player. They shouldn't have signed him to begin with because he didn't fit there. But you don't just cut him. That's just stupidity. That's a typical Jets move. Let's go back to the Falcons because this is crazy.
Anyway, so back to what I was saying. For me, I'm not going to sit here and say Matt Ryan is the problem because he still gets it done. But when you look at the team, they're not set up for a championship. So it inevitably becomes a decision. Is it worth keeping him around, or do we just tear it all down and then rebuild it? And for me, it is tear it all down, rebuild it. Julio Jones, not getting any younger. I've already wasted his prime. Ship him out to a championship contender and let him finally win because he deserves it. Matt Ryan, ship him out somewhere else because, again, another talented player wasted his career. Get him out. At the very best, they keep Matt Ryan for another year. And the only reason I see them keeping him, there's one reason. If they draft a guy like Trevor Lawrence and for whatever reason they think he's not NFL ready at the moment and they would rather give him 1 year, that is the only way I see that the Falcons should keep Matt Ryan. He's a good quarterback. He's got a couple of years left in him for sure, but he's not winning in Atlanta. So Matt Ryan needs either to go this year or the Falcons need to draft a quarterback and then have maybe if Ryan's accepting of that and the team decides that's the right move, have Ryan mentor whoever this new quarterback is. But there is no way that I can see that keeping Ryan will win them a championship anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the NFL right now, the rookie deal quarterbacks are the teams that are winning. So you have the Ravens, Kansas City, and then you have Herbert, who came into San Diego. They're not winning right now, but
he looks
much better. Look at how good that offense is looking. Now you have Atlanta, who's had Matt Ryan, who's been there for years. The defense hasn't supported him, and you've wasted his career, Julio Jones' career, Ridley, who's starting to get into his prime, as you see is performing now. It's not going to work. You're not going to be able to win by the time you improve that defense. I would say now would be the time to go get a rookie quarterback and build on the defense. Use that money and put it where it can work to get your team where you need to be. John?
Yeah, I agree. I've been thinking that it's time actually to get rid of Matt Ryan. Like you said, for the Lions, it's time to get rid of Matt Stafford. Not because they're bad quarterbacks, but because they're not going to win there. And they're teams that need a rebuild to some degree, and they should get rid of them guys. The Falcons have a lot of talent. They obviously have receivers. They don't need Julio Jones. So, I think that they should get rid of those guys and try and get compensation and maybe try and move forward with Calvin Ridley and guys like that.
Yeah, no, those are great points, John. If the Falcons had won the game on Sunday against the Panthers, does Dan Quinn keep his head coaching position, or were they going to fire him regardless?
It's hard to tell, but I definitely think losing definitely didn't help. I get the feeling that ownership was kind of on the edge about firing Dan Quinn, and it really just pushed them over by losing and going 0-5. I'm not saying if they win, he's guaranteed, to finish out the season, but maybe it extends him another week just because at least he finally gets a win and ownership says, okay, we'll give him, just kind of almost like a trial period. Every week is your chance to prove. And then if you keep winning and you get us to, let's say, 5-5 or 6-5 and you get us in the right direction, maybe we'll keep you to the end of the season. But if you drop to 1-6, then we're saying, get out because it's going to get too late. We need to try and right the ship now. So giving him a win may have helped him just for the 1 week because they at least see some positive sign. But I ultimately think that ownership was saying, to themselves, we need to get him out eventually, or rather soon. It's just a matter of what week, and this just happened to be the week with a loss.
JB, if they decided to move on from Matt Ryan, where do you think would be a good home for Matt Ryan?
Chicago is a quarterback away from being a really great team. To be honest with you, that defense is going to take them places if they could just get that offense going at all. I think that's a perfect fit. I don't think you have to look any further than that because Nick Foles isn't going to win you anything. And we've had the Trubisky conversation. They went away from him already. So,
John, any thoughts?
I got a good place. San Francisco.
I was thinking that they
Garoppolo's struggling. They don't have confidence in him right now. He got benched against my Dolphins. Maybe they look for a Stafford or a Matt Ryan to try and take him over the top because they still got talent even with all these injuries.
No, that's a good place. Yeah, the 49ers seem lost right now at the quarterback position. I don't know if Garoppolo just lost it after that injury or if they're going to try to go Mullins or Beathard. They have a quarterback predicament. They were supposed to be good this year, San Francisco.
It seems like it's the Super Bowl hangover. Always happens. Even if you don't win, just appearing in the Super Bowl, there's always the Super Bowl hangover. It is definitely hitting Jimmy Garoppolo right now, for sure. He gets injured, so he misses a week, and now he's trying to catch back up when he was already probably behind from, again, that Super Bowl hangover that he's experiencing. It definitely is hurting him right now. The idea of Matt Ryan or Matt Stafford going to the 49ers, it's not bad, but, that's a very short-term solution. And if Jimmy Garoppolo is really going to experience these issues, he's not going to be the guy, I don't feel like that is really what ownership in the 49ers wants to do is just win now. I think yes, they want to win now, of course, but I also feel like they want to try and prepare for the future and not just get an interim guy for now. Yeah,
that's a great point. I think it's time, guys, we transition to a team in California that won a championship this week. And those are the Los Angeles Lakers. They are your 2020 NBA champions against, I see John making a face, against the Miami Heat. I'm sorry, John. But the Lakers handled their business in 6 games. I thought, this series kind of went how I thought it would. I didn't think it was going to be a sweep. I didn't think it was going to go 7. It went 6. And yeah, John, I mean, what are your thoughts after losing that series?
I'm just gonna say that LeBron James still 4-6 in the finals. Just gonna say that he's still 2 more losses than he has wins for championships. So, 4-6 isn't exactly the greatest record. So he can win that, but he's still not Jordan. Still 2 less championships than Jordan. He's lost 6 times, whereas Jordan has never lost a championship, and Jordan has 2 more championships. And LeBron shouldn't have even been Finals MVP. It should have been Anthony Davis that was Finals MVP in that one. So I think they just kind of handed that to LeBron because LeBron is LeBron. And it could have went either way, but the name kind of tips the scales in his favor for Finals MVP. So 4-6, though. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, but what you're forgetting is, as much as I think Jordan's the better player, Jordan never won a bubble championship. So LeBron's 1-0.
Asterisks.
1-0. So he could say that forever. He's the only one to win a bubble championship.
Jordan doesn't have any asterisks on his championships.
I don't know. You take Barkley out golfing the night before. I don't know. That's enough of an asterisk for me.
The one thing I will say, I think Michael Jordan is better. But the one thing I will say in favor of LeBron, Jordan is 6-0, yeah, but he's only been to 6. LeBron has 6 losses in and of itself. Now, that's not good that he has 6 losses. But my point is, he has 10 appearances to Jordan's 6.
Jordan also took time off to play baseball, so
I'm just simply saying, if you want to make the championships argument, and I'm not saying you do, I'm just in favor of LeBron. He deserves a lot of credit for being the 10 championships. That is extremely impressive.
And not only that, but look at who LeBron has brought to the championship.
Yes.
I mean, the teams he's had around him. Listen, I'm on Team Jordan all the way, as Jordan is the best. Yeah. There's no question. I'm not a LeBron fan, but I got to give the man his respect. He could have brought me with 3 other guys to a championship these couple of years. So, I'm not going to take anything away from him winning. Good job.
Every time there was adversity in this series, and you saw it after the Game 3 Miami win, and you saw it after the Game 5 Miami win, the Lakers were questioned. Can they continue this? Can AD stand up? Can they? LeBron, every time that happened, he just flexed a little bit, and Miami fell apart. And that just speaks to the greatness of what this man has been able to accomplish his entire career. I mean, you had a determined Jimmy Butler. You have a Bam Adebayo, who's not 100%, but he's getting there. You have guys on the Heat, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. They're believing that they can win this series. I mean, Kendrick Nunn was close to his 100% form. And then you insert a hobbled Goran Dragic at the end. But every time that the Heat got a little momentum, LeBron was able to just say, I'm going to get a triple-double. I'm going to dunk all over you guys. I'm going to hit every single three-pointer I take, and I'm also going to motivate my guy Anthony Davis in the process. And I'll end it on this for me. Could Alex Caruso win a championship on any other roster, guys? Any other roster in the NBA? I don't think so.
No. Oh, that's terrible. No.
And have the role he had with the Lakers. Not happening.
He looks like a mini Jeff Van Gundy. That's what he looks like. He looks like a mini Jeff Van Gundy, like a younger one.
Speaking of Jeff Van Gundy, the Van Gundy brothers are getting interviews. I saw Stan Van Gundy interviewed with the Pelicans.
He's close to signing with the Pelicans, yes.
And I know Jeff had a meeting with the Rockets. So I am all here for bringing the Van Gundy boys back into NBA coaching.
Well, I hope. I'll go on, JB.
No, we need someone to hug a center's leg during the middle of the game. So, yeah, Jeff needs a job,
Look, the Lakers can enjoy this year because next year they're not going to get to the championship because I've been saying it all off season, like all year, in the off season, during this bubble, during when they were off. The Golden State Warriors are going to get Giannis. They're going to trade away that number 2 pick, trade away Wiggins, and they're going to get Giannis, and they're going to be back to being that team they were with Kevin Durant, that big team that's unstoppable, the powerhouse. I think that's what they're going to do, and it's going to be right back to being same old Golden State Warriors. They took a year off and got healthy while everybody else was getting tired, and they got the number 2 pick, and they're going to do stuff with that. They're not just going to draft a guy. They're going to use that to get a player that's already in the league and established. So watch out for the Golden State Warriors when they ultimately get Giannis.
I just want to go back to the Lakers winning the championship real quick because I didn't get to say this.
Just rub it in more, please.
Sorry, John. It's just how it is. No, I just wanted to say, I know I mentioned it. LeBron heard the media. He heard everybody saying, "Oh, they lost Game 5. Oh, they have to go to Game 6 now." He heard everything, and I know I said it last week, and I will say it again. Spencer, I know you said it too. LeBron hears everything. He doesn't miss anything. Just because he goes on a social media blackout doesn't mean he's not going to hear what somebody said. And we all know that LeBron is got to be the greatest competitor we have ever seen besides Michael Jordan, probably. At least the game of basketball. At least the game of basketball, he is definitely up there. He is an incredible competitor. He doesn't know the word quit, it seems. He hears the word quit and says, "What does that mean?" That's what it seems with him. And after Game 5, you saw what was a tired Miami team. And John, I'm sorry. I know it hurts to relive it.
They were gassed. Game 6, they were out of gas. You saw it.
That's what I thought it was going to come down to, and it inevitably did. The Heat were not the better team. They were outmatched, but they were really playing at an extremely high level. And eventually they were going to get tired, and it was just a matter of were they going to get tired before it was too late? And it ended up being they got tired. It became too late now because they're down in the series. It's 3-2 Lakers, and the Lakers came out and they looked incredible. And LeBron and AD did what they do. And I said 6 games. I knew the Heat would pull out at least 2 because this was still a very good team. And they did exactly what I anticipated. So all the credit in the world to the Heat because they did a very good job. It was really an impressive run. But congrats to the Lakers because they very much earned that.
I just want to say real quick, we always talk about the differences between Michael and LeBron James, but we never talk about the similarities. And I'm sure the 4 of us watched The Last Dance. All those crazy stories about Jordan motivating himself to come out and absolutely destroy other players in the NBA. You heard LeBron after the game. It's time to put some DAMN respect on my name, on Frank Vogel's name, on all these guys. That was his motivation. When Charles Barkley or Karl Malone won the MVP back in the day, Michael Jordan was angry. He said it to the media. That really upset me. You heard LeBron go on record a few weeks ago. Oh, fine. They want to give it to Giannis. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to go win the finals championship. I'm going to be MVP of the series. So I think that, in general, us sports fans, we should focus more on the similarities between Jordan and LeBron than we do on the differences.
Yeah, but there's no fun in similarities. There's the fun in the differences, I mean, I have nothing but respect for LeBron, but he's not my favorite player. He's never been my favorite player, but he comes out and he gives it his all every game. If you want to win a series, I want LeBron right now. There's nobody else that's playing ball. He's, towards the end of his career, he's an old man at this point, and he's still the best player out there if you want to win. May not be the most exciting to watch. John, you're shaking your head. Who would you take?
Let's not forget about Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Come on. They took a year off because of the injuries, but come on. He beat them 3 out of 4 years.
Wow.
Come on. They beat him 3 out of 4 times.
I love Steph, no questions asked, but you're not going to tell me one person, one heart to win the game. You don't want LeBron?
I want Steph.
They also beat them with Kevin Durant.
He's got the ring.
Let's not forget that Kevin Durant was on the team.
Let's not forget that LeBron has had a super team basically every year he's been in the championship except one. I think 9 of the 10 years he's had a super team. That he's been in the title.
Super team 9 years? No.
9 with Cleveland with Kyrie and Kevin Love.
That wasn't a super team.
That was a super team. Kyrie and Kevin Love. Come on.
I do not count Kyrie and Kevin Love as a super team.
They got Kevin Love when he was from the Timberwolves when he was really good.
That was not a super team.
I call a super team 3 incredible superstars. Like
was an incredible superstar. He fell off with Boston, but he was incredible.
But you didn't have 3 incredible superstars. You had 2 superstars and Kevin Love, who was a great player, but not a superstar. And there's a big, big difference.
But with the Heat and the Cavs, Bosch and Kevin Love were basically the same person. Great individual player on their respective team with Toronto and in Minnesota, but then when they came to their team, they weren't quite the same guy. And then Wade and Kyrie were that Robin to the back.
Okay, which 3 are you taking straight up as far as a super team? Durant, Curry, and Thompson, right? Or Bosch, Wade, and LeBron? Which 3, if you could choose right now, who's your better 3?
Of course, Wade's one of the best players of all time, and LeBron, obviously. Bosch isn't I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
As a 3,
because his career got cut short.
Durant, Curry, and Thompson is a much stronger 3.
Agreed.
If you go with 3-on-3, without a doubt. So listen. I'm not taking anything away from LeBron. I don't like him. As not my favorite guy, but nothing but respect for him. I can't say anything bad about him. I'd love to, but it's like Jordan. I never liked Jordan. Because he used to beat down the Knicks when I was a Knicks fan. And
beat a lot of teams down.
What can I say bad about the guy? All he did was go out and win. That's what you want to watch. Giannis, as good as he is, he's losing in the second round.
He hasn't figured out how to win yet. Right.
Right. So, LeBron was winning from the beginning, Come on. You got to give the guy respect.
LeBron wins with literally nobody. You look at when Kyrie left, and it was just LeBron, he carried the team. You cannot name another player that did something like that. At least I can think of, just off the top of my head. To do what he did was just unreal. I still like Jordan better than LeBron, but that was just phenomenal. And that's just the kind of competitor that he is.
You guys want a hot take? LeBron James is going to win at least 2 more rings in his career, and he will at least tie Michael Jordan for championships. I don't want to guarantee
Not with Golden State there.
But I feel very strong about it. I think he does it. I just think that each year we're going to count him out. We're going to talk about the Clippers. We're going to talk about Golden State. We're going to talk about the teams in the East. And each year he's going to prove all of us wrong. LeBron James, he's going to get to 6. He might even get to 7.
Are you going to have Alex Caruso cover Steph Curry?
Well, if he's going to do that.
We'll cover Steph Curry.
If he's going to do that, he's got to get a better bench with the Lakers because they're not going to do it with who they have now. This year was just a fluke with Golden State being bad, Houston going against everything they had that was good with that transition. But you're going to have 4 or 5 really good teams out west, so it's not going to be easy for LeBron to come back and win.
And they avoided the Clippers. They got lucky and avoided the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals, which who knows what would have happened. I can't say, but they got lucky there. They got lucky. That they avoided the Clippers because that would have been a fantastic series between the 2 of them.
And not only that, and you're counting on AD who gets hurt really easily.
I mean, he still got hurt.
He had a really great season where he, didn't get hurt very much, but there's always that one play away where AD just is out for 4 or 5 games, and that's going to be a big thing. And if it happens in the playoffs, you're done.
We also don't know if Anthony Davis is coming back. He was recently quoted saying, he said, "We'll see. I'm going to give it a few months and then decide." So there's no guarantee he comes back to the Lakers. And if he doesn't, it's going to be very interesting to see which direction that franchise goes.
It's interesting that you say that because we can't exactly say, well, he just won a title, so he's coming back. Kawhi won a title with the Raptors, and he didn't come back. So in basketball, there's no guarantee in the game of basketball.
There are no loyalty in sports. Never. Just doesn't happen.
The question is, does AD want to take a team on his own and build his team like LeBron did, or does he want to go back with LeBron and, get somebody else?
If I'm AD, I wouldn't want to because you saw what he tried to do on his own, and it clearly didn't work. I mean, and I understand his surrounding team was not great, but who's to say he's guaranteed to get a good surrounding cast again? I would rather take LeBron. I mean, I'd love to play with, the greatest player in basketball at the moment, or at least the greatest player in basketball for the past decade or so. And obviously one of the guys that's considered in the top two probably with MJ. I would love to do that. I mean, I understand you don't want to take a seat to him, but how could you not want to play with him?
You see, that I think tarnishes his image more than anything, is that Kyrie didn't want to stay. And now if AD wants to go, why is it that these young guys don't want to stay and play with him? Why don't I get nobody wants to take a back seat, but that may be the one thing that draws away from him.
I've always heard that he's a great player, he's a great teammate, but he's also a hard teammate to deal with, to get along with on his team, because he expects a lot out of you, and he also just I've always heard that he's a hard teammate to deal with. Not a hard guy to deal with, just a hard teammate to deal with. I've always heard that.
I think it's impossible to predict what Anthony Davis is going to do, because I think everyone who's ever watched him play a basketball game wishes that he shaved his unibrow, and he just goes against popular opinion and leaves it there. But I just wanted to get to some hockey before we end today. Jake, you got some news for us. A lot of free agent deals in the NHL. Why don't you hit us with it?
A lot has actually happened since last week. I mean, the season ends, and you think, oh, there's not going to be hockey news. Well, you don't know hockey then, because I probably can tell you there was at least 10 major signings. So I'm going to quickly just go through them. We can analyze any that you might find interesting. We're at the end of our show, but I just want to go through them. So the first one that I saw was Lundqvist signs with the Caps. And then we saw Anton Hudobin, who was the goalie for the Dallas Stars this past Stanley Cup Finals run. They brought him back on a 3-year, $10.5 million deal. Edmonton signs Kyle Turris from the Nashville Predators. Braden Holtby, placed by Henrik Lundqvist, technically. I mean, Lundqvist will probably be the starting goalie. It's possible. He goes to the Vancouver Canucks on a 2-year deal. The Flames Inc. former Canucks goalie, Jacob Markstrom, to a 6-year, $36 million deal. So Flames are looking good there. Corey Crawford, the ex-Blackhawks goalie, is now headed to New Jersey on a 2-year deal worth about $3.9 million. St. Louis Blues agree to a 7-year deal with ex-Boston defender Torrey Krug. So St. Louis obviously bolstering maybe for another run. Andre Burakovsky re-signs with the Colorado Avalanche. Detroit Red Wings agree to terms with Thomas Greiss, who was with the Islanders. So he's on a 2-year deal with the Red Wings. Craig Smith, who is now going to be the goalie for the Boston Bruins, or at least that's winger. Excuse me, not the goalie, Craig Smith. Craig Smith signs a 3-year contract with Boston, so I guess maybe they're trying to go for another run, just add some depth. Who knows? Former Ranger Jesper Fast, probably going to be a third liner for the Hurricanes, signs a 3-year, $6 million contract. Again, probably bolstering that lineup, trying to improve the lower lines for a run. And then one of the bigger signings, Taylor Hall, the former Hart Trophy winner, signs with the Buffalo Sabres. Now you got Taylor Hall and Jack Eichel together. That is going to be fun to watch. And then lastly, the former Blues captain signs a 7-year deal, $61 million. Alex Pietrangelo to the Vegas Golden Knights. So a lot of transactions, obviously a lot of signings, and I'm sure as this show is being recorded on Tuesday, by Thursday and by the next week, there might be even more signings. I'm going to start with Spenser. Were there any signings to you that really stood out? Were there any moves that surprised you maybe?
Corey Crawford to my New Jersey Devils. I think he is motivated. He's angry that the Blackhawks weren't able to get a deal done with him, and I think he's going to come out hungrier than ever. So I really like that signing by my New Jersey Devils.
John?
Yeah, the Taylor Hall one was surprising. I honestly did not expect that. Good for the Sabres, though. I mean, they haven't been good for a long time. That was a once proud franchise. They had a lot of good years years ago. So good for them. I mean, maybe the Sabres are starting to finally make some headways.
JB, any thoughts?
It was just a flurry. I remember, it was just like one after the other. It was good to see sports being sports again. And that's part of sports, all these signings. The games just ended a couple of weeks ago, and now here we are, we're free agency. We know the season's going to start. I want to see how all these teams end up and, where we wrap up, who goes where. It's pretty interesting.
I'm with John. I love the Taylor Hall signing for Buffalo. I mean, it's only on, I believe, a 1 or 2 year deal. He didn't get a huge deal done. But regardless, Buffalo has not been good. They've been pretty terrible, actually. But I'm really excited to see Taylor Hall with Jack Eichel. That should be really exciting to watch. Two young talents that are absolutely phenomenal. It's something I look forward to, and I'm not going to call it a super team because hockey does not have super teams necessarily. That doesn't really exist. However, that's going to be something that you're going to get close to a super team, really. Two superstars on one team. That's really exciting. And then the Corey Crawford signing. That surprised me a little bit. I guess I didn't see New Jersey signing anybody. I figured they would just, if they were going to move on, I figured they'd go with someone in their system. It's just, for me, I mean, I don't see New Jersey in a win now situation. And you sign a guy like Corey Crawford, who really is supposed to be implemented probably in a win now situation. He's a veteran goalie that I know I mentioned it I think it was last week I mentioned. He's only got so many years left in him. He's not necessarily young anymore. So signing him, I'm not sure how I really feel about that. But I'm interested to see how it plays out. I don't think there were really any other major signings. As a Rangers fan, I will just say this. Lundqvist to the Caps, that hurts. I do know the Caps. I can't recall who their backup goalie is at the moment, or who was their backup goalie. But I actually think Lundqvist is coming in to mentor their goalie for the future. That's why they're moving on from Braden Holtby. Holtby is out, and Lundqvist is really just coming in to be basically a backup, which a little bit surprising. I didn't think he would go for the backup role, but it's 2020. It's a weird year, and all kind of strange things are happening. And
yeah.
Go ahead, JB.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot that happened in hockey this week. It was kind of crazy, but the big thing this weekend, Georgia goes down to Alabama. I mean, big game. Number 2 versus number 3. Alabama coming off a tough game versus Ole Miss. Georgia handled business last week pretty easily. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I'll touch base first. My Gators got upended by Texas A&M. I didn't expect that. I expected us to go in there and win. They surprisingly had a packed house. They said it was half capacity, but that was basically a full stadium. And the Gators want a full stadium. And I believe tonight, as of Tuesday, there was 19 players that tested positive. 19 people tested positive for COVID. So that's kind of a bit of irony right there. Wanting a full house when your whole team basically just got hit with the coronavirus. And then LSU getting whacked. I was surprised LSU got, as I say. So LSU just isn't quite the same team this year. And then Florida and LSU will play this weekend, which should be an interesting game. I think Florida should win that, depending on how COVID goes. But SEC is kind of flipped because I expect LSU to be better. I expected Florida to win that game and contend more. So the SEC is kind of flipped. I thought it would be stronger.
Yeah, well, I'll give LSU credit just because 20 of their guys that aren't playing on
Right.
Saturday are playing on Sunday now, so
Right.
they can have an off year. But the rest of them, it's pretty understanding. And Ole Miss is doing really well right now. What do you?
But
what do you think
LSU doesn't get whacked like that.
No, but 20 guys now on Sunday, so it's a lot harder to replace 20 starters that are in the NFL.
JB, you bring up the Bama-Georgia game this weekend. I like Georgia to upset Alabama. They say in football that great defense beats great offense. Well, Georgia is one of the best defensive teams in the country, and I just think that Alabama Crimson Tide, they're in for a letdown. I think this is going to be one of those games where they come in and they're just outmatched. I really like Georgia to pull off the upset, and I'm not just saying that because this radio show is an Atlanta radio show.
Normally, I'm the one that opposes everybody, but this week I am all on the Georgia hype train. I am 100% agreeing. Defense wins championships. Need I say more?
No, I'm with you guys. I got Georgia this week. I just think Bama is not as good as we think. So before we wrap up, just everyone want to say where their shows are and everything. John, you want to lead off?
Yeah, so you can go to Podbean and search Perched Sports Talk. That's my other podcast. You can find all of our shows, Journey with the Jays and Perched Sports, on there. You can find me on Twitter at BlueHawks13. And then obviously you can find us here on Real 1100 AM and anywhere you find Journey with the Jays on social media.
Yeah, I do a Giants podcast. So if there's any Giants fans out there listening, I'm on Pigskin Nut. We're crazy about football over there. So check out our channel. The show that I'm on is specifically called Scouting Giants, but check out the channel in general. A lot of good football content. For anybody that's listening on air and doesn't see me, my Twitter is at Jake_Malik. That's MALIK. Feel free to follow me on there, and that's about it. Spencer?
Hey guys, Spenser Shaman. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Saw42. I host the Last Resort Sports Podcast. You can follow that on Twitter at resort_podcast. I also host a Brooklyn Nets podcast, Fireside Nets. You can also find us on Twitter. We talk everything Brooklyn Nets and everything else that's going on in the NBA.
And, I'm JB_the program on Twitter. I host the program on the Believe Network, also on the Carousel, on Fantasy of Flavors, covering the Chargers. Make sure, you're following all of us in all these different areas. And, big thanks and shout out to Mark Berry, AMG Music, for the music you hear during the podcast. That's in Atlanta, and everyone out there live. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.